What happens when China no longer needs the United States technology? That is the big question worrying business leaders, government planners, and whole industries right now. A quiet change has taken place, and most people have no idea it already happened. China has finally broken free from the reliance that gave the US massive power for over 30 years. That power was built on computer chips, legal rights, limits on exports, and the belief that China could never create advanced technology on its own. But that belief is now falling apart. Here is the part almost no one discusses. The moment the US tried to cut China off from the best computer chips, China reacted with a national effort that surprised even its own experts. While many expected China to fall behind, the opposite happened. China created backup supply networks, turned entire regions into research hubs, and pushed its companies to make substitutes for every important American part. For years, this work stayed out of the news, but now the results are coming out. In this video, you will find out how China used the trade limits to push itself forward, why some major discoveries were kept secret, and how these changes could redraw the world's tech map for decades. You will learn about choices made years ago that are only now showing their full effect, and why the US is facing a big problem it did not expect. You will also hear about less-known moves inside China's tech world, like secret technology supplies, hidden supply chains, and local projects that were thought to be failures until they succeeded. You should watch until the end, because the final part of this video explains the true turning point. That is the moment China stopped just reacting to pressure and started building a complete technology system that cannot be blocked. This change could lessen American power in trade, military plans, and setting global standards. It could also change how smaller countries pick their technology partners. The end of this video will show you why experts now say the world is moving into a time where technology is not led by just one superpower, and why this matters for your future, your job, and the global economy. This story is not only about chips or devices. It is about who controls the next age of computing, smart machines, digital safety, and online infrastructure. It is about a competition that is no longer one-sided. And it is about what happens when the world's fastest-growing tech place no longer needs permission or entry from the old leader. If you are ready to understand the real change happening away from the headlines, then stick with us. You are about to learn how China changed the rules while no one noticed, and why this time could be the start of a completely new technology system. Welcome to our channel. And if you want more deep insights like this, make sure you sign up. For many years, America was on top of the technology world. It controlled the best chip designs, the most important software systems, and the special machines that every country needed to make modern electronics. Companies in the US set the global rules. Chip giants controlled the entire chip industry, and the US used this position not only to lead the market, but also to control the actions of other nations through rules, legal rights, and access to technology. The US had more than just new ideas on its side. It had powerful ways to influence others. Trade limits, export controls, and important team-ups became part of its global strategy. When the US stopped access to a certain chip or machine, entire industries in other countries could slow down or stop completely. That power created a type of control that few nations could fight. Even close friends often followed the US's lead because they relied on American legal rights, American software systems, and American chip technology. China was the same. For decades, Chinese companies built their products using American-designed chips, American online systems, and American engineering tools. Factories needed US-approved equipment. Developers needed US-owned platforms. Even China's early phone and communication companies were linked to Western operating systems and legal property. This reliance created a weakness that China's leaders understood clearly. When the US decided to increase control, it aimed right at the heart of China's technology growth. The US cut China off from the most advanced chips made by companies like NVIDIA and TSMC. These were the chips that powered smart machines, powerful computers, and next-generation networks. Losing access meant China could no longer buy the same top-level processors that other global tech leaders depended on. The message was clear: slow down China's progress by controlling the tools needed for new ideas. But the pressure did not stop there. The US pushed its friends to limit the sale of advanced machines made by ASML, the only company that could produce the equipment needed for making the best chips. With these machines out of reach, China's ability to make top-tier chips seemed blocked. The US believed that without this technology, China would fall years behind, giving the US a major edge in everything from data centers to military systems. Major Chinese companies were also directly targeted. Huawei faced bans in many countries and was stopped from getting key parts. ZTE almost failed. Many of China's smart machine companies were blacklisted, stopping them from buying essential hardware and working with Western partners. These actions were planned to isolate China and slow its growth in fields that would define the future of global power. But something unexpected happened. Instead of slowing down, China moved into a state of national emergency. Universities quickly expanded their chip programs. Local governments poured money into research labs. Companies started creating replacements for banned American technologies, even if it meant starting from scratch. Entire supply networks were changed to depend less on foreign sources. Engineers who once worked for foreign firms came back to China with new knowledge. The trade limits meant to hold back China ended up boosting its resolve to build everything at home. China answered the pressure with one of the biggest technology movements in recent history. The government put billions of dollars into chip research, paying for new labs, university programs, and special centers focused on chip science. This money was not spread thin. It was focused, planned, and constant, creating a setting where researchers could try new things without worrying about running out of money. Cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing built new technology areas very fast, bringing in engineers from within and outside the country. At the same time, China started a national effort asking companies to switch from foreign tech. This was not just words. It became an order for factories, software makers, and hardware designers to stop using American products and create local choices. Businesses that once relied on imported chip tools or Western online services began making their own versions. Government offices changed their computers to use Chinese-made processors. Communication companies redesigned their network equipment to use parts built completely inside China. This push quickly grew into areas where China was already becoming strong. Engineers focused on smart machines, new chip designs, and advanced manufacturing methods that many thought China would need decades to master. Research teams studied how to redesign processors to get around US legal rights. Local firms competed to create the next generation of smart machine chips that could work without Western hardware. Even in manufacturing chips, one of the hardest parts of the business, China started building machines that could handle older but important technologies, reducing the country's reliance on foreign sellers. While all this growth was happening, China quietly built backup systems across many sectors. Phone companies expanded their own operating systems and app stores. Cloud giants created local choices to US platforms, helping millions of businesses. Chip firms created new supply networks that connected raw material miners, chemical companies, wafer makers, and chip designers under one organized system. Step by step, China built a complete technology world that could run even under the strictest foreign limits. Huawei became the clearest sign of China's unexpected success after being cut off from advanced chips. Many experts guessed the company would disappear from the global stage. Instead, Huawei put out new processors that surprised everyone and showed a major change in China's technology skills. These chips proved that China could still move forward even without direct access to the best foreign hardware. Engineers who once relied on imported designs started making their own better designs, proving that the country had more talented people than many thought. Other Chinese chip makers followed the same path. Local firms began making 7-nanometer chips, a goal many believed China would not reach for years. The progress did not stop there. Several companies began looking into even smaller chips, searching for new ways to get past the problems caused by limits on foreign equipment. These advances were not limited to one region or one company. They showed a wide national effort that brought together research labs, private firms, and government-supported projects. This drive also moved into the area of smart machines. Chinese smart machine systems, which once depended heavily on NVIDIA hardware, started learning on locally made processors. Data centers updated their servers with local accelerators. New companies introduced new smart machine chips made just for China's computing needs. This change allowed researchers to keep improving their models without needing US suppliers. As these advances spread, China slowly became less reliant on big American technology companies. Companies switched foreign cloud platforms for local ones. Local chip systems matured to support industries from phones to electric cars. The reliance that once made China weak began to disappear, and a new level of self-sufficiency took its place across much of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. A quiet change has been happening. Countries that once depended almost completely on American technology began choosing Chinese options. Phone companies used Chinese 5 grams equipment. Governments installed data centers built on Chinese hardware. Businesses moved their digital work onto cloud platforms made in China. These choices were not random. Many nations saw Chinese systems as cheaper, trustworthy, and free from the political rules that often came with US technology. As this trend continued, a new worry began spreading among Western government planners. The fear was simple but serious. America's longtime tech tool, the ability to control or pressure other countries through control of technology, was losing its power. When nations can easily switch to Chinese chips, servers, software, and networks, the US's control naturally gets weaker. Tools like export limits and trade restrictions become less effective when another system is ready to take over. This increase in global use happened because China built an unusually complete set of technologies. It was no longer just a place for making things. It created its own chips, its own smart machine systems, its own cloud services, its own 5G networks, and its own data infrastructure. A country looking to modernize could now choose a full package from China without needing a single American component. This level of completeness gave China a major advantage that few countries had expected. Meanwhile, US efforts to slow China's growth began to show less success. New rounds of limits were announced, but China's plan barely changed. Local companies kept doing their research. International partners kept buying Chinese systems, and local industries increased their use of homegrown technology. The pressure that once could stop entire sectors now struggled to change China's long-term path. As China expanded its technology independence, the US began facing unexpected problems in areas where it was once the most powerful. One of the clearest changes showed up in trade talks. For years, the US used access to its advanced technologies as a bargaining tool, shaping deals and influencing policy choices around the world. But as more countries felt confident in Chinese alternatives, the threat of losing American technology no longer held the same weight. Talks that once favored the US became more balanced and sometimes much harder to control. At the same time, forcing export bans became harder and harder. The US could still restrict its own companies, but it could not easily stop other nations from selling to China. Suppliers in Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe found ways to meet Chinese demand, sometimes by changing supply routes or changing products to avoid the limits. These loopholes weakened the impact of American bans, and each year, new ways around the rules appeared, lessening the US's ability to isolate key Chinese industries. As China kept improving its technologies, another trend appeared. Other countries began using Chinese standards. Phone companies used Chinese 5 grams designs. Device makers put Chinese chips into their products. Even building projects in developing nations increasingly relied on Chinese data systems. These standards became popular because they were cheaper, easy to expand, and often simpler to set up than Western systems. With more countries choosing Chinese technology, the US found it harder to promote its own standards globally. All these changes created a growing risk that the world could split into two technology systems. One side built around American systems, legal rights, and networks, and another built around China's growing digital world. This split would affect everything from digital safety to global supply chains. creating a world where devices, software, and communication systems no longer work under one shared structure. China is not beating the US in every area yet, but one thing has become very clear. It is no longer weak in the way it once was. The years when one single export ban could stop a whole Chinese industry are ending. China now has its own chip makers, its own cloud giants, its own smart machine companies, and its own hardware chains. Even in areas where it is still catching up, the difference is no longer about relying on others, but about being in a race. This change affects how countries judge technology risk, because a nation that can rely on its own systems cannot be pressured in the same way as one that depends on foreign supplies. As this change continues, global tech power is moving away from being controlled by one side and is becoming shared among more players. For decades, the digital world was centered on American companies, American legal rights, and American platforms. Now, countries have real choices. Some pick American systems, some pick Chinese ones, and others mix both. New technology groups are forming, driven not just by money, but by politics, security interests, and national plans. Europe is developing its own ideas. India is growing its digital goals, and smaller nations are choosing based on cost, speed, and reliability. This new situation sets the stage for one of the most important races of the century. The next 10 years will decide which nation or group of nations leads the digital world. The creation of advanced chips, super-fast quantum computing, smart machines, digital safety rules, and global communication standards will all play major roles. Each new discovery will shape how data moves, how industries work, and how governments show their influence. The choices being made now in research labs, policy offices, and company headquarters will decide the balance of power for a generation. China's journey from relying on others to being strong on its own has changed the balance of global technology power. The country that once relied on foreign chips, foreign legal rights, and foreign systems has now built its own path forward. And that shift carries a message much bigger than a single rivalry. When a nation can survive without its rival, it stops being controlled by its rival. The world is now watching two tech giants move on separate paths, each building systems, standards, and plans that will define the future. The next part of this story will decide whose technology shapes industries, whose networks connect nations, and whose vision leads the digital age. If you found this explanation helpful and want to stay updated as this story keeps going, make sure you hit the like button on this video, leave a comment, and sign up for our channel. Your support helps us bring you more in-depth looks at the changes that are changing the world.